Hey everyone, my name is Rohan. I'm a senior solutions architect with DigitalOcean. In today's video, we're going to see how easy it is to implement global load balancer and VPC peering on your existing website. So for today's session, I'm going to be using an e-commerce website. I have cloned the Git repo. I've cloned it from a public repo, so full credits to the person who got it public. Talking about the architecture, this is what it looks like. We have a domain associated with the global load balancer with two droplets running behind it. Essentially, these droplets have the front end and the back end on them. We are using Next.js and Node.js for that. Behind the droplets, we have the database. It's a managed relational database that we're using from DigitalOcean. The droplets are VPC Pure. As you see, the kind of VPC peering we are using is inter VPC. We have the droplet set up in two different regions, and so is the database. DigitalOcean allows VPC peering across data centers as well, if at all that's required. Now, with that architecture diagram in mind, let's hop on to the control panel. Okay, now on the droplet side, the first thing we did is we cloned the public Git repo. And the second important step is to make sure your environment file has all the database parameters in it so that the droplets will be able to communicate with your database. Right? The next thing I did is once a droplet was configured and had all the code on it, I went ahead and took a snapshot of it. So in order to take a consistent snapshot, an app consistent snapshot, it's recommended to turn off the droplet. So this is the snapshot that I took, and then you can essentially add it to another region. So if you have a global footprint, then you can add it to several regions where the droplets can be created once the snapshot has been added to that region. All right. Now, so that's how I got the two droplets set up. Setting up the database was easy enough as it's a managed database. All I had to do is select the right compute resources, compute memory, and the disk resources on it. What I've done is, as a best practice, I've configured my database cluster in high availability, which means it has a standby node associated with it. What you also can do is you can configure a read replica in case of MySQL database, and that the same is available with Postgres as well. So what that would do is all the read queries can be directed to the read replica. And in case of an emergency, what you could do is you can actually have that read replica promoted as a primary as well. So that's another key feature that's available. Okay, now let's get back to our architecture diagram. So we spoke about droplets, we spoke about the MySQL. Now let's talk about the global load balancer, right? So creating a load balancer is easy enough. On the left hand side pane, if you go to networking, click on load balancers, you can click on this button right here, wherein you can either create a regional or a global load balancer. I'll select global. Though I have already set up a global load balancer in front of the droplets, I'll just show you the process, how easy and simple it is. So you can enable CDN caching so that assets like images, videos, and web pages are cached and they are rendered in a faster way. The other thing I would recommend is tagging your resources. Like in this case, if you tag your droplets, if you were to set up multiple droplets, by just putting in the tag, all these droplets would be put behind the global load balancer. Then rule forwarding, this is another important thing. if your application is running on, say, port 3000, which is the port that we're using in our case, then make sure you configure the right port here so that the forwarding is done appropriately. Similarly, for the health checks, make sure that the relevant port is configured. So again, it would be 3000 in here. And then you have some additional settings which kind of determine if the droplet is ready. Not only that, you can also configure SSL redirect from HTTP to HTTPS, and that's about it. You can go ahead and create a load balancer, and we can configure the domain settings afterwards. So now it's in the process of creating a load balancer, and there it goes. It has been created just fine. I'll directly hop on to the settings section. So this is the place wherein you could see the settings that were configured. You can also have a traffic distribution priority configured out here, depending on which the global load balancer would redirect the traffic to the nearest available region, which is configured in the list. You can also have sticky sessions configured just as the regional load balancer. Now the thing that I wanted to show you is domain part. So you can connect to a domain easily. So if I were to pick up a domain right here, you can go ahead and create a new SSL certificate, or if you already have one, you can use that. And that's about it. Once you connect the domain, there's one other important thing which I missed out here. So if you were to add your domain in DigitalOcean, the A and quadruple A records required for your GLB would be automatically added, and the ones that I'm referring to is let me quickly go to the networking section, domains. So currently this is the domain that we're using for GLB. If I were to just click on this, so these are the A records and quadruple A records for the GLB that has been set up, right? So that's how intuitive and simple it is to add a global load balancer. Now talking about the VPC peering part, so for that let me go over to the terminal. So currently this is my, I think, yeah, this is my SFO node. Currently I don't have VPC peering between SFO2, which is where one of my droplets is hosted, and the database, which is in Singapore. So if I were to, let me see, do a quick telnet to the private IP, sorry, to the private string, connection string of the database, it won't go through. Right, on the other side, on the other hand, I have VPC peering between my Frankfurt droplet and the database which is hosted in Singapore. So if I were to, yeah, there you see it's quickly connected. Now let's see how easy it is to create that VPC peering. And for this case, what we'll do is we'll create a VPC peering between the SFO, the droplet in SFO and our database. So for that, again, you go to networking, you go to VPC. Here, one thing that you need to know is what is the VPC that's currently being used for your droplet and for your database. Right now, SFO2 is what I'm looking for, and this is what I'm using for my droplet. As you see, there's 0 VPC peering connection. I'll go ahead and create one. So here you need to select which VPC should this VPC peer with. So I'll select SGP1, and this is exactly the VPC that my database is using. You can give it a name of your choice. All right, and that's about it. Once you create the VPC peering, we should be able to go ahead and test this out. I'll just quickly cancel this one, and there it goes, it's connected. So that's how simple it is to create VPC peering, and in this case it's inter VPC because the services are hosted in two different regions. The other thing I wanted to show was you the capability of GLB itself, and for that reason what I'll do is I have a VPN set up currently. If you see, I'm connected to SFO2, so the text that you see on the website is in English. This part that you see, this area that you see, I'll switch over to my Frankfurt endpoint, which is where my another droplet is situated. And you'll see that once I refresh the website, the GLB essentially loads the website from the Frankfurt droplet. So let me refresh this, and there it is. So that's the importance of GLB. Again, to quickly summarize, if you have users from different geographies, if you have different front-end servers, GLB is a must for you. So as you saw in this case, though I had two droplets in two different regions, GLB was able to redirect the traffic correctly. And then we also had a look at VPC peering, how easy it was to configure it between two regions, and as I had mentioned earlier, you can also configure it between different data centers. And what I mean by that is, if one region has more than one data center and you have different services configured between two different VPCs in those two data centers or three data centers, you can essentially VPC peer them. All right, that was all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new from it. Thank you.